We're going to talk about probability, types of probability, and subjective judgment. Probability is just how likely it is that something will happen. We all can think of a weather report where we're told the probability of precipitation is 40%. That just tells us that there's a 40% chance that we're going to have rain or snow during that day. So you can use that to help you plan an activity. If there's an 80% probability of precipitation, you might choose not to go to the park that day because you might get wet. Theoretical probability is when we base a probability on thinking about what the possible outcomes are, and we don't actually do an experiment or see anything. We just think about what outcome am I looking for and how many outcomes are there in total. Experimental probability is when we actually have some observations, we see something happen, we record results, and we figure out from those results how likely it is that something is happening. And subjective judgment is when we base our decisions not on any type of probability, just on our personal feelings. For example, I might look at the weather forecast and see that there's an 80% chance of rain today, but I just have a good feeling about today, and I think that I'm probably going to be all right if I go to the park and it won't rain, even though the probability tells me otherwise. We have a spinner here. If I think about theoretical probability with regard to the spinner has 4 equal sectors. So if I'm interested in the probability of spinning green, I can look at my spinner and I say, you know what? I need to know the total outcomes on the spinner, and I can see the spinner has 4 sectors, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all equally likely because they're the same size. So the total possible outcomes on that spinner are 4. There are 4 outcomes. I want the probability of getting green. There's 1 green sector. So there's 1 sector out of 4 that is green. So the probability of getting green are my favorable outcomes, 1 favorable outcome, 1 green, out of a total of 4 possible outcomes. So I have a 1 in 4 probability of getting green. I could call that 25% if I would like as well. If I want to look at experimental probability with that same spinner, I'm actually going to spin the spinner and see how many times I get green. So if I spin my spinner, so far I've had 1 spin, no green. So I have 1 spin, no green. Spin the spinner second time. 2 spins, still no green. Spin the spinner a third time. 3 spins, still no green. Now my theoretical probability says that 1 in 4 should be green, so maybe I'll get a green this time, maybe I won't. Let's see. Okay, I got a green that time, so 4 spins, 1 green. I'm going to spin it a couple more times, just see how we do here. So now I have 1 more green, no more green, 1 more spin. 1 more spin, no green. I'm going to try for 8 spins, so I've got 6 so far. Let's try for 2 more. I got 1 green. And I got 1 more green. So I can see that my experimental probability, out of 8 spins that I did, I got 3 green. So my favorable outcomes were 3. 3 outcomes were green out of a total outcome of 8. So I didn't get exactly the same as my theoretical probability of 1 in 4, because obviously 2 out of 8 would be a 1 in 4 probability. I have 3 in 8. We know that the more often I do the experiment, the closer I will get to the theoretical probability. So if I was to spin the spinner 100 times, I would get very close to my 25%. Subjective judgment doesn't rely on probability at all. It's just something like, I think the next spin will be red because that's my favorite color. Or I think the next spin will be green because it's St. Patrick's Day. So it's got nothing to do with actual probability. It's just got to do with your own feelings. You might have a hunch or something like that. That's subjective judgment.